And I would like to welcome you again to our class. And of course, we are traveling through the book of John in Hebrew. And today's chapter is 19 verses 7 to 12. And I hope that we look at it and begin to understand it better. So we begin, of course, with showing you the Nikud, the valve markings, and useful resources. And I have a chart there to help us remember how to use the vowels. So let us begin. And of course, the first one is Zion, which is the seventh letter of the alphabet, and that tells us we're in verse 7. And we will now go through the letters. We have Vav, Yod, Ayin, Nun, Vav, Hey, Yod, Hey, Vav, Dalet, Yod, Mem, Safit, Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Vav, Tav, Vav, Resh, Hey, Yod, Shin, Lamed, Nun, Vav, Vav, Ayin, Lamed, Pei, Yod, Tav, Vav, Resh, Tav, Nun, and Vav. So let us read that. Vaya Anu. And they answered, because the root word there is ana, which means to answer, but the hey is dropped off at the end. And then we have Ha-Yehudim, the Jews. Vayomru, and they said, Torah, meaning a law. Yesh lanu, there is, that's yesh, for us. And we look down here, we got yesh. As an adjective means there is, it is necessary, it may be. So there is. The al pi, and by the mouth. Toratenu, our law, with the nu being our at the end. So the Jews answered and said, we have a law, and by the mouth of our law. Okay, now let us read it without worrying about the understanding of the words, but learning to read it efficiently and proficiently. Vaya'anu ha-Yehudim vayomru Torah yesh lanu v'al pi Toratenu. And the translation, and they answered the Yehudim, and they said, a law there is for us, and by the mouth of our law. And now we move to part B. And we see we've got a chet, yod, vav, or vayet, sorry. Chet, yod, vayet, mem, yod, taf, hey. Hey, vav, aleph, kaf, yod, ayin, sin, hey, ayin, zade, mem, vav. Bayet, nun, safit, aleph, lamed, hey, yod, mem, safit. So let's read it. Chayav, mita. Now, what's chayav mean? If we look down here, we got mechuyav, which is an adjective form of it, and it means liable. So literally, it's to be liable, we could say, right? So liable to die, and then how do we get die? Because we know that mit, it's the root of that is die, and the hey, you could say, is to die. And then we have who, which is he or he is. Ki can be for, and then sa, he made. We know asa means to do or to make, so he made. Atzmo, himself. If we look down here, atzem, it's a masculine noun meaning oneself, and it's very specific. And then we have ben, Elohim. Now we know Ben means the son or son of Elohim. Right. So, the translation by the mouth of our Lord from the previous verse, he is liable for death because he made himself the son of Elohim. So now we will read that. Chayav mita hu ki asa atzmo ben Elohim. And the translation, liable to die he is, for he made himself the son of Elohim. And now we come to 8, which is a chet. And so let's look at the letters. Vav yod he yod, kaf shin mem ayin, pe yod lamed tet vav samek, aleph tav he daled veit resh, he zion he, vav yod aleph samek fesofit, lamed yod resh aleph, ayin vav dalet. So now let us read that. But he, and it was. Often they'll translate it, and it came to pass. But it can also be just, and it was, because of course the root of that is haya, to be, right? And it was kishmoah. Now the kaf is often when or like. So when he heard, in context, Pilatos. Pilatos, which means Pilate. Et Ramamaka. Ha devar, meaning the word. Ha ze, this. Va Yosef. And he continued. Now, how do we get that? Well, Yosef means to add, right? So it can be to add, to continue, to do again, right? So, and he continued, Lero, to fear. He continued to fear. Od. Now, od can mean more, still, again, continued, another. So he continued to fear more. And it came to pass when Pilate heard this word, he became even more afraid. And so now we read it. Vehi kishmoa Pilatos et ha devar hazeh va Yosef lero od. Right, so now we have the translation again, just to remind us of each word. And it was, when he heard Pilatos, grammar mark of the word, this, he continued to fear more. So it's just helping us see the actual structure of the sentence, which is sometimes quite different from the English structure of the sentence. Right, so we now move to 9, and we see 9 is represented with a tet. So it's the 9th letter of the alphabet. And then we go through the letters. Vav yod shin vet. Vav yod vet. Aleph. Aleph lamed bet yod tav. Hey mem shin pei tet. Vav yod aleph mem resh. Aleph lamed yod hey vav shin ayin. So let's read it. Vaya shav, and he returned. If we look at it, shav as a kol verb mean to return, but it can also mean to repeat an action. And then we have va yavo, and he came, because we see it's a verb because it's got the vav and the yod, which tells us it's an action that's complete. So, and he came. El to bet the house, to the house, ha mishpat, of judgment, of the judgment. And they translate it here as of justice. Vayomer, and he said, again, there's no pronoun, so it's he. That's why I always keep adding it there, just so you know it's referring to who. And he said, El to Yahushua, to Yahusha. Then Pilate came back again to the house of justice and said to Yeshua. And then, of course, I've also given you Yashav, which is a kol verb, and it can mean to sit, to dwell, to stay. And I've given you that so you don't get confused with shav and yashav or yeshiv, right, which can mean to dwell, right? So they're the two very similar, but this one's just shav, or sometimes you'll see it as shuv, right? And then we've got mishpat at the bottom as a masculine noun meaning law, justice, sentence, or judgment. So it could be the house of the sentence, or of the judgment, or of justice. So we can use all of those, right? So we will now just see, well, the translation is, and Pilate came back again. So it's the same as returned to the house of justice and said to Yeshua, right? So now let us read that. It is Vayashav, Vayavo, El Beit HaMishpat, Vayomer, El Yahushua. And the translation, and he returned and he came to the house of judgment. And he said to Yahusha. And then we go to part B of that, and we see we've got a mem, aleph, yod, nun safit, aleph, tav, hey, vav, lamed, aleph, hey, shin, yod, veit, vav, yod, hey, vav, shin, ayin, dalet, veit, resh. And now we read it. Me, ayin, from where? Ata, meaning you are. V'lo he-shi-vo. Right, so v'lo meaning and not, he-shivo, he returned. So let's have a look down here to help us understand that word. He-shiv is the verb to return, to reply, to answer, to give back. Again, its root is like shav in the middle, except it's got a yod there. But if you look at it, the root is to return. Right, so that just helps us. And not he returned. And then we've got Yahushua, or Yahusha, davar, meaning a word. So Pilate said to Yeshua, where are you from? But Yeshua did not answer him a word. So now let us read that. Me ayin, ata, v'lo, he shivo, Yahushua davar. So if we look at this word, just out of interest, man often means, the mem is often from, and ayin, it could mean like not, from not. Right, so it's probably a strange way of saying it, so then they translate it as where. Right, so Pilate said to Yeshua, where are you from? So that's how they translate it. But Yeshua did not answer him a word. And the translation, from where you are, and not he returned Yahusha a word. And then we have 10, represented with a yod. So the letters are Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Vav, Pei, Yod, Lamed, Tet, Vav, Samek, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Lamed, Aleph, Tav, Dalet, Beit, Resh, Hey, Yod, So Hey, Lamed, Aleph, Yod, Dalet, Ayin, Tav. Just trying to go a little bit faster to just test our brain that we remember the letters well. So we read, Va Yomer. Now there's no pronoun. And he said, Eliv, unto him. The Vav is him. Pilatos, Pilate. Eli, to me. Because El can mean to, and the Yod is me or my, right? To me. Lo, not. Tedaber, you do speak. Hello. Now we know that the hey is a question, therefore. Questioning hey, right? Do not. Yada ta. And ta means you, so you know. Pilate said to him, do not speak to me? Do you not know? Right, so let us read that now. Vayomer. Eliv, Pilatos, Eli, lo, tedaber, halo, yadata. The translation, and he said unto him, Pilatos, to me not you do speak? Do not you know? Right, and part B, we got a kaf, yod, Yod, Shin, Lamed, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Dalet, Yod, Lamed, Zadeh, Lamed, Veit, Kaf, Sofit, Vav, Yod, Shin, Lamed, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Dalet, Yod, Lamed, Shin, Lamed, Chet. So let's read. Ki, and that can be for or that. Yesh, La, El. That there is for in. It seems a bit strange. Because as a prep, L as a prep can mean to, in the direction of. For in, so it can be for in, which is an unusual one. Yadi, meaning my hand. Again, the yod at the end is my, and we know yad is hand. So that there is for in my hand, and it's litz lav ka, to crucify. Now we know that we've got salav in the middle there, which is a kal verb meaning to crucify. So it's to crucify you. V'yesh le'el, and there is for in yadi, my hand, le sha le che. So it's le shalache, to send out you. To send out you. Do you not know that it is in my hand to crucify you, and it is in my hand to send you away? Right. And now we can read it. Ki yesh le'el yadi litz lav ka v'yesh le'el yadi l'shaleche. And the translation, that there is for in my hand to crucify you, and there is for in my hand to send out you. Right. So we now come to 11, which has a yod and a aleph. Yod is 10, aleph is 1, so we have 11. And then we have vav yod ayin nun safit. Yod hey vav shin ayin. Lamed aleph mem resh. Lamed aleph Hey Yod Tav Hey Lamed Kaf Sofit Resh Shin Vav Tav Ayin Lamed Yod Lamed Vav Lamed Aleph. So let's read. Vaya'an, and again it is, and he answered. There's no pronoun. Then who answered? Yeshua lemor, saying, lo not, and this is haita, to have, it can be, laka, to you, reshut, authority. So if we look down here, reshut, as a feminine noun, means authority, permission, approval. So it's translated as authority, right? Alay, over me, because we know al can mean over, by, upon. And then lule, were it not, lule. So let's have a look. Lule, were it not, had it not been, if not for. So they're just the ways we can translate it. So the English here is, Yeshua answered, saying, you have no authority over me if it had not been. So let us read that now. And it is, Vaya'an, Yahushua, lemor lo hayata leka rashut alai lule. With the translation, and he answered Yeshua, saying, not to have for you authority over me, were it not. And we come to be, and we have a nun. Tav, a nun sofit, lamed, kaf sofit, mem lamed, mem, ayin lamed, hey lamed, kaf, nun sofit, ayin vav, nun sofit, hey mem, samek, gimel, yod, resh, aleph, tav, yod, aleph lamed, yod, kaf sofit, gimel, dalet, vav, lamed, mem, ayin, vav, nun, kaf sofit. And we have nitan leka, given, right? Nitan means given to you. And then we've got mi lama la, from above. So if we look down here, la mala is an adjective for upwards, above, or in heaven, right? So his authority is given to the authority is given to you from above. It could be from heaven, which is another way of looking at it. La ken. Therefore, avon. So how do we get avon? And it means the iniquity. If we look down here, the root of it has two vavs in it. That's how we know it's avon. It's a masculine noun. It means crime, offense, or misdeed. So, therefore, the iniquity, the misdeed, ha-mas-gir, which is, because it's got a hey, a definite article, it means the one who delivered. The iniquity of the one who delivered. And ot, meaning me, eleka, meaning to or unto you, gadol. And we know gadol means great, right? So is greater. To you is greater. And then we have me avoneka, and translated than your iniquity, or literally from your iniquity, but generally translated as than your iniquity. And down here I've got hisgir is a verb to hand over, to extradite, to deliver. So we know what it's talking about there. When it says hamisgir, it's got the hay in front of it, right? Which tells us it's like a noun, the one who delivered. The betrayer, the deliverer. Right, so now in the English, if it had not been given from above. Thus the iniquity of the one who turned me over to you has the greater sin than your iniquity. Right, so let's read that. Nitan, leka, mi lama la, lakim, avon, hamaskir, oti, eleka, gadol, me avoneka. Right, in the translation. The authority from before, it has been given to you from above. Therefore, the iniquity of the one who delivered me to you is greater than your iniquity. And now we come to verse 12, and it's represented with a yod and a vet, which is 10 and 2. And then we have the letters. Aleph, Zayin, Yod, Vet, Kuf, Shin, Pei, Yod, Lamed, Tet, Vav, Samek, Lamed, Shin, Lamed, Chet, Vav, Vav, He, Yod, He, Vav, Dalet, Yod, Mem, Safit, Kuf, Resh, Aleph, and Vav. So let's read. Az, it means then. Yavakesh, he did seek. So if we look down here, bikesh is a call verb to ask, to seek, to request. So he did seek Pilatos, which is Pilate, le shalecho, right? Le shalecho, to send away him. Again, the vav at the end with the o is like him or his. For it could be for his sending away. To send away him. Ha Yehudim, and the Yehudim, the Jews, karu, which is they called out, because we know kara means to call out. Then Pilate sought to send him away, but the Jews called out. And of course I've repeated shalak down there, which means to send, to dispatch. And so we read that, which is Az Yavakesh Pilatos le Shalecho V'ha-Yahudim Karu. Then he did seek Pilatos to send away him, and the Yehudim, they called out. And we come to 12b. Vav Yod Aleph Mem Resh Vav, Aleph Mem Safit, Tav Shin Lamed Chet, Aleph Tav Zion Hey, Aleph Yod Nun Kaf Safit, Aleph Hey Veyet, Lamed Kuf Yod Samek Resh. And we read it. Vayomru, and they said, again the u is they, im te shalach, which is if, and the tav tells you it's second person, you send away, because we know shalach means to send, right, to dispatch. Et grammar marker, ze, meaning this man, in other words, right? Ein ka, not you. So because we know an means not, and kaf sofit is you. O have love. O have is loving, or it could be loving, or have love. Le Caesar. Le meaning to, Caesar meaning Caesar. The Jews called out and said, if you send this one away, you are not a friend of Caesar. And that's how the English often is. So now we read it. Vayomru im te shalach et ze ein ka ohev le Kesar. And they said, if you send away, grammar marker this, not you have love to Caesar. Right, very good. We come to part C of 12, which has a kaf, a yod, a kaf, lamed, hey, ayin, sin, hey, ayin, zadeh, mem, vav, mem, lamed, kaf, safit, mem, resh, dalet, bet, kuf, yod, samek, resh, hu, hey, vav, and aleph. So, key, for, kol, all. So, why is it kol, not kal? Because it follows the kamatz rule, where it's a closed syllable, usually the first, and it gives us a short O sound. Kol. Sounds very similar. Kol, kol. Ha, o, say. And it's got any. Now, the reason it's any, not all, is because also asa, or the osay is doing. So it is any doing or making. Otzmo, which we know is himself. Malak, king. Mored is rebelling. So let's have a look. Morad is a kol verb to rebel, to revolt. And mered, as a masculine noun, means rebellion or insurrection. And then I've also repeated here, kol is a proper, means all, any, every, entire, right? So then we have bet, Kesar. Now the bet, which is often in, it can also be against Kesar or Caesar. Who, meaning he or he is. So not a friend to Caesar, for whoever makes himself king is a rebel against Caesar. That's the English. So now let us read that. Ki kol ha-osei at mo melech mored be-kesar hu. And again, for any making himself king is rebelling against Caesar, he. Of course, the English would put the he first, right? But the Hebrew puts it around the different way. And that's just to help us understand that one day when we're trying to speak Hebrew, we've got to sort of remember the sequences of how they make a sentence. So now we come to revision. So hopefully we gained some understanding as we went along and we can remember some of this. So we begin reading. Vaya'anu, and they answered, Ha-Yehudim, the Jews. Vayomru, and they said, Torah, a law, yesh lanu, there is to us, or for us. V'al pi, and by the mouth. Toratenu, of our law. And there's the translation. And they answered the Yehudim, and they said, a law there is for us, and by the mouth of our law. And then we have chayav mita, which means liable to die. Who, he, or he is. Ki, for, asa, he made. Utz, Mo, himself, Ben, son, Elohim, son of Elohim. Liable to die he is, for he made himself the son of Elohim. And then we have Chet, which we know is the 8th letter of the alphabet, so in verse 8. He, and it was. Kish Moa, like hearing, or when he heard. Pilatos, Pilate, et grammar ha devar, the word, Hazeh, this, Yosef, and he continued, Lero, to fear, Od, more. So the translation, and it was, when he heard Pilatos, grammar the word, this, he continued to fear more. And then we move to the next page where we have a tet, which has a value of 9. So we know we're in verse 9. Vayashav, and he returned. Vayavo, and he came. El to be at the house. Ha mishpat, of the judgment. Vayomer, and he said. El to Yahushua. Translation, and he returned and he came to the house of judgment. And he said to Yeshua, Me'ayin, where, or from where, Ata, you, Velo, and not He, she, vo, he answered. Yahushua, or he returned, he returned, Yahushua, davar, a word. From where you are, I've added, and not he returned, Yahushua, a word. Now we have Yod 10, Va Yomer, and he said, Eliav, unto him, Pilatos, Pilate, Eli, which is to me, lo not. Te daber, you speak. Hallo, do not. Yadata, you know. And he said unto him, Pilatos, to me not, you do speak. Do not you know? And now we can continue that. Ki, that, yesh la'el, which is there is, for in, yadi, meaning my hand, lit lav ka, to crucify you. For yesh, and there is, la'el, for in, yadi, my hand, le shalche, to send out you. That there is for in my hand to crucify you, and there is in my hand to send out you. And then we have Yod, value of 10, Aleph, value of 1, we're in verse 11. Vaya'an, and he answered, Yahushua, lemor, saying, lo not haita leka, which is to have for you. Because of course haita is like to be, but you can also use it as to have for you. Reshut, which means authority. Alai, which could be over me. Lule, were it not. And he answered Yahushua, saying, not to have for you authority over me, were it not. And then we have nitan, meaning given, laka, to you. Me lemala. So, mi lemala, from above. Lakin, therefore, avon, meaning the iniquity, ha-masgir, of the one who delivered, because it's a hey in front. Oti, me, eleka, unto you, gadol, meaning greater, is greater, me avoneka, from your iniquity, or than your iniquity, is how they'll translate it. Given to you from above. Therefore, the iniquity of the one who delivered me to you is greater than your iniquity. And we continue now, and we, of course, have a yod and a vet, which means we're in verse 12, and we have us. Then, Yavakesh, he did seek, or he sought, he did seek Pilatos, Pilate, le shalecho, to send him, to send away him is how they'll translate it. For ha-Yehudim, and the Yehudim, karu, they called out. So translation, then he did seek Pilatos to send away him, and the Yehudim, they called out. Vayomru, and they said, if te shalach, you send out, or away, et ze, which is normally this one in other words, ein ka, not you, o have, meaning loving or have love, it's like a participle, le Caesar, to Caesar, which is Caesar, and the translation. And they said, if you send away, grammar marker, this, not you have love to Caesar. Ki, for, kol, all or any, ha-o-se, doing, Atzmo himself, or making, right? Doing or making. It's probably making in context. Atzmo himself. Melech king. Mored is rebelling. Because also it's like a participle. So it's rebelling. Bet Kesar, against, as a bet can be against Caesar. Who? He. Or he is. For any making himself king is rebelling against Caesar, he. And that brings us to part C of 12. And therefore, we now come to the conclusion, which of course is the vowel marks. And let's just look at the bottom line. We see we have the U sound there. It's called a shuruk. And remember, often with the vowels, the vowel mark replaces the sound of the vav. So in this case it's U, so it's shu. And then we have a kubutz. And if we listen to the word kubutz, whereas this is shuruk, we can see ku is a longer sound. So it's a longer U sound when it's got a kibbutz. Then we have a kataf segol, which is a combination of shiva and segol, which is the short E sound, se. Then we have chirik, a short I sound. We have kataf panak, patak. So patak is an A sound, but a shorter A sound, as in pa. And then we have kataf kamat. And as we can hear, the ka is a longer A sound. Okay, and then we move again to looking at the values, and also we have our resources that we had at the beginning. Just to remind you, please use them. They're very useful. And let us pick a line here so that we remember that a zade has a value of 90, fe has a value of 80, An ayin has a value of 70, a samek has a value of 60, a nun has a value of 50, and a mem has a value of 40. Okay, and again, we would like to thank you for joining us, and we do pray that you enjoy these lessons and that you begin to have a better understanding of the Hebrew. And so we wish you a Shavua Tov, a good week.